Okay, so this is the day before, review video, if that's what we're going to call it. I just woke up, I probably had like 3 or 4 hours sleep, so maybe we're not going to be the most high energy. Have I ever been high energy? Probably not. The day before, I could use this video to do a multitude of things. I could do a victory lap, tell people it's great to be vindicated that another game that I said, was going to be bad and there was going to be a million problems with it is bad and there is a million problems with it. But I don't think that's going to serve any purpose. And then one of the other things we could do is review the game for what the game is. And we will do a little bit of that later on. But what we really need to do first is address the elephant in the room, that this game is a bait and switch. Like, straight up, this game is not what they build it as for the years of marketing that they already admitted that they fucked up. So what they did was they said, we're making the day before, it's an open world survival zombie MMO. And everyone said, man, that's really ambitious. And these graphics look crazy. It looks like really good graphics for such an ambitious big game. And then they repeatedly told people and showed people misleading footage that would, allow people to believe that this was an open world survival zombie MMO. But then the game released, and it's not an open world zombie survival MMO. It's an extraction looter shooter, which is a totally different genre of game. Now, let me be clear. If they said the day before was an extraction looter shooter with zombies in it, I'd have been like, cool, I like extraction games, I like shooter games, I like zombie games, I like games with loot. That's fine, just deliver a good game and, great. That's not what they did. So it's really hard to assess, everything that's going on without saying that this game was just straight up misleading marketing, even up until the point you bought the game. Because, before the game launched, obviously there were people calling me a hater, and they were saying, oh, you're just hating on the game for no reason. This is the reason that people were hating on the game, and by hating I mean criticizing the things that they'd done, which displayed a lack of competence and ability to do anything that they said that they were going to do in the public eye. And this is why you always need to do that, and also why it doesn't matter, because this game on launch, when I saw it, it had like 30,000+ concurrent players for a game nobody should have bought, that launched with a million red flags, with nobody saying good things about it in terms of like media, and with a box price that was ridiculous for an early access game from a developer that has abandoned every game they've ever made and shown all of this incompetence and these red flags. It shouldn't have been bought by people, but it was. And luckily, they're all going to get refunds because Steam can't possibly adhere to any kind of like hours played on this because the game didn't work. So you'd spend the first few hours potentially never getting into the game. Now, what was my experience? Let me just go back and qualify that this game is a bait and switch. You could even call this game, at this point, comfortably, a scam. Why could you do that? Well, because again, they said it was going to be one kind of game up until the point where you bought it, logged in, did the tutorial, and then you were confronted with the reality that none of the things that they said this game was going to be is what the game is. When people started saying that's what the game was, they locked their Discord server, they prevented new people from joining the Discord server, they even locked the bug report section. And believe you me, this is a fucking game that needs a bug report section because the entire game is a bug report. They definitely need that feedback. So let me just be very upfront and clear about this. I do not care if they make an extraction looter shooter. It's fucking irrelevant as a point, because some people are going to say, what's wrong with that genre? The point is, if you say you're going to do one thing and then deliver another, you lie to people, and you lie to people for money, which, I do believe that there's a word for that, and it's a word that people have often used for this game. Now let's start assessing what the game is. We've assessed what the game should have been, what we thought it was going to be. Let's just now look at what the game actually is and assess it based on what we have, not what our expectations was from being lied to for multiple years. The game, where do you start? It's bad. There's some things that people will try to forgive, and one of those is always going to be day one performance, especially network problems and servers being full. I don't think we as consumers should accept that. I don't think that's fine. I think if you pay money for a product, you should expect to be able to play the product and it be serviceable and good. When we start accepting that, you know, your money as a consumer is just going to give you something that is not fit for purpose, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice, and it isn't something that should just be hand-waved away as, all the games are bad launches, so therefore it's okay that this one does. Fuck all that. We deserve better, so I'm not going to hand-wave that. The servers are unbearably bad. It seems like the infrastructure of the actual game, of how it's designed, is incredibly poor for what they're trying to do. Let me tell you how it works. You log on, maybe, hopefully you don't crash. I did twice within the first 5 minutes of loading up the game. Out of video memory. All right, cool. My 4090 graphics card is out of video memory. If that doesn't have enough, where do you go from there? And then the other one was, I just got a Unreal Engine survival game fatal error that just said okay on it. So, you know, what can I do about that one? When you log in, you're going to create your character that has a bunch of stats. They don't do anything in the game, as far as I can tell, so that's fucking useless. That's, I guess, the RPG element that they said the game would have. Doesn't do anything. You get in, you create your character, you click join server. There's dozens of servers for NA, Europe, and of course Asia. You're going to click a server. You're not going to get into the server mostly. It's just going to bounce you back to the server screen. But if you're lucky enough to get into the game, you'll get a load screen, you'll get in, you'll do some tutorials and stuff. The voice acting's, you know, it's lifeless. The animations are lifeless. The game doesn't really have any soul to it whatsoever. But whatever, we're not playing this for that. We're playing it because it's an open world sandbox PvP zombie survival game MMO, right? Obviously not. But then you get into the game, and what you realize is that the server you're in, man, this game just doesn't fucking work. There's 32 people in a server. So you're joining a server, there's 32 people in there, and then when you go into the world, like not the hub, into the game world, as far as I can tell, it's not like an extraction game where the servers are spooling up and there's new loot around, and then the servers are shutting down and new people are going into these new instances to fight each other. It seems that there's 32 people in the entire overall server, and if they're sat in the hub, they're not in the game world. The game world just seems to be tied to that specific server, and there's just nothing to do. So let's talk about the actual gameplay. First, optimization. It's bad. It just stutters constantly. When it goes nighttime, the lighting makes my game lag. Turning too quickly gives you stutters and freezes. There's graphical errors, animations on zombies. You can't fucking jump over things. You can't. You constantly get stuck on things if you try to jump on it. Phones are just really... Oh. That's it, guys. Game over. Game over. We dared to dream. When you open car doors to loot things, you get stuck inside the cars. It's not good. Now let's talk about the actual, you know, the bread and butter of the game. The game world, the shooting, things like that. The one positive I'll say about this game is that the environments look fine, right? I don't think it's the most interesting game world because we've seen this from multiple games, but what it's trying to be, the game world is serviceable. You know, it is what it is. It's nice that some of the buildings are open. I would have preferred many more open buildings, but that's something I guess they could expand upon if they continue to develop the game, which will be breaking their own habit of abandoning their games. But the world does feel lifeless in that, other than it looking okay, and it is of course a downgrade from what we originally saw, there's nothing really to it, and there's not a lot to do within the game world. It's a zombie game, apparently. There's hardly any zombies, and the zombies that do exist are not a threat, other than when they're, you know, hitting you from a million miles away for no reason. Well, the reason is because, again, the networking is so bad that almost nothing makes sense of what you're seeing. I was getting shot by people that I was having a gunfight with, and they weren't even on my screen. Like, they'd go behind a truck, and then seconds later they'd shoot me, but they weren't there. And then 3 or 4 seconds later, they'd like run sideways out of the truck. On their screen, maybe they'd already done that, but on mine, the desync was so bad that, you know, having actual real gunfights is almost impossible, to the point where the one time I died, the person who killed me was not even aiming his weapon. He was just stood still in an idle animation. His gun wasn't even raised. And when my character got hit, it stopped me using my gun, and then like 4 seconds later my character had just died. What the fuck? Jesus. No. It's Attack on Titan. Wait, did she kill him from shooting his massive hitbox? Which obviously you can't assess a game's viability as like the core of what it's trying to be, just the shooting aspect, and is that good? When a game is playing like that, it's fucking unbearable. He's stuck, but at the same time I'm now out of ammo. I've hit him repeatedly. Bro, he's not even on my screen. That's right, pussy. What up? Put up those hands. Bro, did you see him shooting me while he was still around the corner? So already from that, we can't really get a good handle on the main bread and butter of the game, but we can talk about the game design. You know, the looting, the extracting, the general loop of how you'd be playing other than shooting people, because that's all you can fucking do in this game. You can loot, you can shoot, and you can extract from the game. There's some quests and NPCs to talk to in the hub, but you know, that's fucking basically playing a text-based RPG on the internet. You can't really fuck that one up. In terms of loot, oh man, it's just not good. The looting is very inconsistent in terms of what you can loot, the containers you can loot. There's no open world loot as far as I can tell. Everything's in a container, so you don't just see things around. It honestly felt like in the hours I was playing, there was no point to looting anything. You might as well just go camp the extraction where everybody else is, because looting is just unfun. Most of the times, even if I went into like one of the points of interest, which there's like 5 on the whole map, it seems like the map is mostly filler, just fucking useless space where nobody is, because you almost never run into players, almost never run into zombies. You're looting things that all say that they're worth the same as each other. None of it's interesting. And then when you go to one of the points of interest, I'd go in and I'd loot like 50 crates and bags and whatever else, and each zone would have like the same loot. I'd loot like 50 med packs in one area. So it just didn't feel rewarding or worthwhile to do in any way. The map design overall is just not good. There's like 2 extraction zones if you have a backpack, and they're in the same exact area of the map. So the rest of the map is just, you know, nobody's there. They're just sitting at the end waiting for people, which is a mechanic, of course, people are always going to do, but there should be other options to be able to play the game in the way that the game is meant to be played. So again, assessing the game based on what it's trying to be, which is an extraction shooter, you know, I'm sure the devs will think I'm the biggest hater in the world, but I'm now just going to say, you know, what's wrong with the game, and that is the game doesn't have any soul. The game doesn't really have any reason to play it over other better games that do what it's trying to do. You know, put away the fact that they lied about everything and the game's completely different from what we all expected and what people literally spent money thinking the game was, the classic bait and switch. If you just assess it as a Escape from Tarkov light, I guess, why would you play this game? I can see one reason, and that is Escape from Tarkov's very hardcore. It's for a crowd of people that really like, you know, the mill sim, crawling through the fucking mud, being really slow gameplay wise. This could be a League of Legends to the Dota, right? As an apt comparison, because this is a less hardcore game. It's kind of arcadey in that it's quicker, it's dirtier. And honestly, if the desync wasn't so bad, the gunplay would be fine from the look of it. Like, the shooting of the guns doesn't feel bad. Oh, the sound design is fucking awful, by the way. If people are shooting guns or running around near you, there's no chance you're finding where they are unless my, you know, couple $100 headset can't hear where they are and my multi-$100 amp that it's plugged into. But maybe that's just my sound setup. It doesn't seem very good on my end. But the thing is when you're talking about, you know, why would people play this over Escape from Tarkov, with it being that arcadey style? Right now, every aspect of the game is so bad and not fit for purpose that there would be no reason to. You just force yourself to play something that's a little bit more hardcore than to play this, because it ain't good. What this game needed is more years of development as this extraction shooter, because I don't know whether they always were intending to be an extraction shooter, or they just had a game that was so unfit for purpose that they just spent the last, few months, when they knew they couldn't delay this time without, massive backlash yet again, to just strip this down and turn it into an extraction shooter. Because the stuff that they showed in the trailers, it just doesn't exist, right? A lot of this stuff, there's nothing survival about this. You use food and water in the extraction zone, but that's the only survival mechanic. There's no base building. There's no, taking over anywhere on the map. There's none of this shit. I've not seen any cars, not heard any cars. There's no RPG mechanics. The base building that they did show just seems to have literally been shoehorned in at the very end as an instance that there doesn't appear to be any reason to go to in any way. Like, it honestly does feel like they had an assignment from the teacher that was due at 12, and at 10 o'clock they were like, oh, I've done nothing, and then just fucking, just threw some stuff together to get a game to ship. So if I'm the teacher grading this one, they didn't get a fail for turning in nothing, but obviously they failed for, just a fucking bad game. So I don't really know what to say other than I don't know why they felt the need to lie if it wasn't to misrepresent people, to hype up something which they've done multiple times, right? This is the thing. They've done this multiple times. With the day before, they originally did it to say, big news coming, and it was them launching another game. They've misrepresented this every step of the way. And if that was, I retweeted it. They posted like a marketing thing where they were like, oh, we fucked up along the way, but we've given blood, sweat, and tears to make this game, and we just hope everyone enjoys it. And I retweeted it, and I was like, nobody's going to care about the past if the game's good. So hopefully the game's good. Let's see, right? And it's all fine and well posting stuff like this, but you were still lying to people at that point. You posted it one day before release. I don't know why you felt the need to do this. If it was going to be an extraction shooter the whole time, people like that genre. People are crying out for another Escape from Tarkov, but different and developed better. So I don't know why you needed to lie if it wasn't to misrepresent and get more people interested in something it was never going to be. It's either that, which obviously that's assuming malicious intent, or it's the incompetence of they thought they could get this game made, they couldn't, and then they pivoted and delivered something just so they had something. They're the only two options I can see personally. Now, I, again, don't want games to fail. As much as people call me a hater and say that, I make content that's bad for games because then, people don't buy the games or whatever, good in this instance, of course. I always want games to succeed. It would benefit me in no way if all games were bad. I want this game to be good, but you should refund this if you bought it. This was like a $40 game. It's, most of the price of a AAA experience and none of the game. Go spend this money on any other experience that isn't this. I'll probably play the game a little bit later on to see if the hotfix that they pushed while I was asleep fixed some of the networking issues or whatever, and maybe I'll post an update if I, find Jesus or something while I'm playing. But as far as I can tell, this game, it's a complete nothing burger. It's what we expected, and Vindication's all good and everything, but I would have preferred to be wrong and the game be great than to have the game be bad. Because not only is this just another time that people wasted their time, energy, and money if they didn't get a refund, but it's another one where it degrades the trust in indie games and in early access as a model, which I do firmly believe is great for the genre when used properly and is giving us great games. So yeah, I'm sure there's more stuff I could have said. I'm sure it could have been way more eloquent and concise and to the point if I would have written this down. But I just wanted to get it to you real and raw, give it to you raw and wriggling, and that's it. That's the day before. So yeah, go to Gamersup's, link in the video description. Buy waifu cups. Love those. You can buy some anime girl thigh. Caffeine free or caffeinated. It's a powder. You put it in water. It tastes good. This one's like a cream soda, like orange flavor. Pretty weird. Soda pop-in flavor, soda pressed despair. Probably the best one in my opinion. But there you go. Link in video description. You get 10% off. I get a kickback. Win-win for everybody. And yeah, enjoy if you're playing the day before. I guess fucking good luck with that one, man. It says the person who's about to play it. Either way, suggest me content, do all those things, click the links in the video description. See you next time. Peace.